the finale of our trip. The last place that we visited was the home of the Terracotta Warriors.
Nothing can prepare you for the massive grandeur of this place.
It's huge.
Oh my God.
Wow. It was enormous in size. It's like a giant airplane hangar.
Probably fitting 5 football fields in the entire area.
It's believed in Chinese culture that the spirit lives on after life. So Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi wanted these warriors to protect his spirit in the afterlife.
All of the soldiers in this room are infantry, meaning they attacked on foot with spears or swords.
At first, it looks like they're all in formation, they're all in straight rows, and they're all exactly the same. But as we began to walk and look a little bit closer, we began to see little details and variations in each of the warriors.
Each one of these is an individual, with individual hairstyles, armor, and weaponry.
The next thing that we were able to see was the actual well where the first terracotta warriors were encountered. This well was found in 1974 by a group of farmers that were looking for water. I don't think they had any idea about what they were going to encounter.
In Pit 1, over 2,000 terracotta soldiers have already been discovered. It's believed, however, that another 4,000 are still buried, and archaeologists are leaving these underground for future generations to unearth. The pit itself is composed of 11 corridors, each lined with soldiers. The walls in between these corridors are rammed earth. These walls would have been lined with wooden planks and then laid over the top with wooden beams. On top of these were fiber mats, and on top of that was another layer of dirt, covering the entire interior section. While the majority of the statues in this room are very well preserved, an area in the middle shows just how archaeologists would have found them when they first did excavations.
We moved on to pit number 2, which was quite different than what we had seen in pit number 1. It was a bit smaller scale and size.
Though not fully reconstructed, Pit 2 contains approximately 900 soldiers, 466 horses, and 89 chariots.
When we first entered the room, it's a little bit darker in this area, and you definitely don't get struck by all the warriors facing you. In fact, what you see here is more indication of the structures that actually contain the warriors.
At the other end of Pit 2, you can see the original ground surface. It's about 15 feet down to where the tomb of these ancient terracotta soldiers was actually discovered. Down here, what you see are the remains of the beams that went over that created an empty space where the terracotta soldiers were housed. All the ridges represent the wooden beams that have decomposed and filled in with earth over time.
We got to see a different set of warriors. The ones that we were seeing in Pit 1 were footmen, and they were infantry.
We find infantry along with numerous archers, including crossbowmen and longbowmen, and charioteers, including all of their horses.
Lastly, we went to the third pit. This one was much smaller than the other two, and it was in a different shape. The room was U-shaped.
Pit 3 is believed to be one of the most important. Containing generals and a number of high-ranking officers, this room is believed to be the command center of Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi's terracotta army.
It was really interesting to walk into that room and be greeted by 4 horses and men that were probably riding chariots and conducting these horses.
Surrounding him are 68 other figures. To their left are a number of high-ranking officials, conferring as though they're planning something for battle. On the right side of the room are the remains of a number of crushed soldiers, as they would have been originally discovered.
The great experience for us was that after we walked in, we were able to walk out onto a very narrow ledge and look down over onto these warriors, you really felt like you were getting a bird's eye view and getting to get really close to the warriors there.
Overall, I was incredibly impressed by the sheer grandeur of this room, as well as the uniformity of all the soldiers held within the pit. How long have you worked at this site?
Maybe 22 years.
You are really lucky.
Thank you.